Society chugs along based on the premise that the currency maintains its value so that people can afford their daily expenses, their food, their energy, their shelter. Okay. And that gets disrupted on occasion. And when it does, you have people who take to the streets, work stops, people get a different sense of what's happening and a breakdown occurs. Well, that's happening right here and now. I'm going to show you the changing world order and how that affects your currency. This is primarily about the US, but of course, we basically see that in the West. There's a lot of change happening today, and I want to make you informed about what's occurring. I'll give you all the details you need to know. Let's begin right here. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Russia's exports of crude oil have now surpassed the volumes hit before its invasion of Ukraine. So the US and other countries said, we're going to punish Russia. We're going to make sure that they cannot benefit from their massive exports of oil. And we're going to do that. We're going to hit them hard. And what did they do? Russia said, all right, well, we're going to do something about it. We're going to make sure that China becomes a bigger buyer and India becomes a bigger buyer, and other countries in Asia will do the same. And they did that, and now they're selling more than they did before. That attempt to punish Russia really didn't work. It just strengthened the ties with Russia and these other countries. Okay, let's move on. China and India account for roughly 90% of Russia's seaborne crude exports. With Europe largely out of the picture, the two countries are each buying 1.5 million barrels a day from Russia. So they're taking it on. They have no problems. These countries, China, Russia, India, BRICS nations, right? They are loving their partnership now. The United States has pushed these countries into a corner, and they've all kind of said, look, let's just do business. Let's just make this happen. And that's what's going on here. I think people maybe misconstrue what I've said in previous videos. I'm not in favor of any side. I'm bringing you the information and I'm showing you the economic aspects here. Look, do you think this is a smart idea to try and punish this country in the way that they've done? Or is this really about the military-industrial complex benefiting from the circumstances? There's been no clear winner here. There's been no benefit to the average person. Nowhere, absolutely nowhere does a person benefit from anything that's been going on. And yet we're seeing this. So the currency here is an issue. Talk about why. Let me show you something. Yi says China largely ended its currency intervention in market tilt. The PBOC governor makes a rare speech during his visit to Washington. He says the potential growth estimate is very controversial because they are talking about how much they can grow over the period, and you can't say much, obviously, very controlled area of the world. But anyway, the point here is that they're saying we're not intervening. But of course, what's going on here all over the world is that all central banks do intervene in their markets, not once in a while, like not when things are bad, but literally every single day. And that's important to understand because the value of your currency as there's intervention goes down. But you might not see that. I see the comments each and every single day. People would say, no, not possible. Look at the US dollar index and look at what's happening with, and then they pick a currency. Okay, look at that currency. When you are looking at them together against each other, that's a whole different circumstance. But when you measure it against real goods, against your food, your energy, and your shelter, well, then things are different. How many of the services you use today are more expensive than they were last year, 5 years ago, and so on? That's just your dollar being devalued. Things are going up nominally. Sometimes a business can win where they, maybe their prices have increased by, let's say, $1, okay, on that product. They sell the product for $10. We can increase the price by $5, $15. Will people still buy it? Yes. So I made that $4. Okay, so people think that way in some cases. they're able to benefit, but in some cases not. Everything, that the labor costs have increased, the material costs have increased. I've incurred that same thing myself. A product, the actual production cost was $22. Now the production cost, $24.50. That's the way it goes. And you can only do so much, right? You can increase your volume in that to get a volume discount. You could try a different method of shipping. You can do all things to kind of reduce those costs and bring them down as much as possible. But ultimately, that's the way it goes. The currency is just being devalued everywhere. And until we understand that, we're not going to realize why these things are occurring. So how does that affect you, other than the obvious? When Macron met the Emperor of China, welcome to the New World disorder. Now you got to understand this, what's happening here. The world is changing. It's a changing world order. Okay, here they are having some tea. And this was unusual to me. Because, by the way, while France is burning, you have this guy meeting up with China, cozying up to China. And it's very clear that they want to do business together. Very clear. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And so what we're seeing right now is a time in which, just a few years ago, you never would have seen this before, right? Do you agree with me? That you would have had Europeans going to China and trying to be buddy-buddy. No, they would have not done this. Today, different story, because they realize what's happening and they see the writing on the wall. That they want to be partners with a country like China, where they can get their cheap products, where they can get and outsource cheap labor, and where they can do things that they cannot do in their own country. The manufacturing in Europe doesn't happen, especially in Western Europe. Maybe in Eastern Europe, they could have some factories in Poland and other places, but you're not going to get what you have in a place like China. So of course, France is going there and saying, hey, do you want to do business? And they even, I brought it up in a previous video, doing the deals on the Shanghai oil exchange, crude oil exchange. So that's happening right now where we never would have thought before. And that brings me to this. The US dollar's recent slide is flashing a bullish signal for markets. I mean, everybody I think knows this, but I'll mention it anyway, that when we see a decline in the value of the dollar index, the stock market goes up and vice versa. That's the way it works. And we're seeing that right now today. Now that's, again, currencies versus each other. But at the same time, we're also seeing that against real goods. This is an article basically just talking about, I'll show you here, 5-year credit default swaps on the US government debt, one of the most traded forms of debt insurance, have notched their highest price since 2012, reflecting the investors' desire to protect themselves against a potential default of debt. Now, this is going on. The summertime, the US is going to default. That's what they say. They're warning and scaring everybody. But we don't think that will happen. Instead, they're going to print more money. And when they print more money, your currency is devalued. This is absolutely critical to understand. In the video I will link to at the end of this video, you got to watch it. You have to. It talks about each and every piece, including the fact that you will not be able to drive from point A to point B. You don't believe me? Watch that other video. I'll link to it at the end of this one. This is becoming so intense. And most people, they don't even know what's going on. The average retail investor portfolio is down 27% since November of 2021. Why is this happening? It's because of the things that people were putting their money into and not diversifying. The currency itself declining, stock market has moved up considerably, and yet the average retail investor is still down. It's because what's happening is a changing world order. Things are moving around and people are legitimately concerned. No question. The once mighty euro-dollar futures contract fade away. Most traders have already migrated to the SOFR, SOFR futures and options. Remaining euro-dollar contracts will be converted on Friday. So euro-dollar, 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 we keep hearing about this. And now, in terms of the euro-dollar futures, gone. So All you need to know about this is, by the way, euro dollar, there are some individuals out there which make it to be the be all end all, and yet what is it? What's a euro dollar? It's just dollars held outside of the United States. That's it. Don't complicate it. Don't listen to what they say. Dollars held outside the United States. That's it. And so right now things have changed, and people were saying this is going to be chaos. This is going to be huge. This is going to be nothing. Nothing. I talked about this before. There were so many individuals out there saying, oh my God, I'm panicking. Nothing happens. Okay, so anything that goes on behind the scenes like this, it is not important enough to spend too much time on. We cover it quickly, we move on. People have been making video after video after video, and people were scared about it. Just like Basel III is going to be implemented. This is and what happened? Nothing. Okay, don't get worried over the wrong things. Be concerned about the fact that they're implementing a social credit score, and you're only going to have so many carbon credit allotment. Like, that's a worry. Worry about the fact that they're going to ban cash. Worry about the real things, not about things that truly are not important. Okay, and so the things I need to talk about are critical. I don't bring you that unnecessary stuff, and I try to keep it short. I try to keep it sweet, and I try to link that in with data points, other data points that I think people should be aware of. So that's what this video is about: the declining value of the dollar. What do? Pillars of prosperity. Pillars of prosperity. What does that mean? You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to have your preparation, your self-sufficiency. Why? Because the cost of everything are increasing. At the same time, you can increase your own wealth. How do you do that? You have skills. You have knowledge inside you right now today. And you got to get it out there, and you got to earn the income from it. Very important. Very important stuff. I hope you appreciate this information. I'll see you tomorrow. This is the video. You got to check out this video, okay? Don't go anywhere. If you haven't seen this video yet, check it out. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.